We have a disclosure for today's episode. Securities offered through Advantex Investment Services SM, member FINRA SIPC, investment advisory services offered through Advantex Advisory Services SM, insurance services offered through an Advantex affiliated insurance agency.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Perfect RIA podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Jarvis, and today we're doing another episode of What Works Wednesday with Colleen and Monica, who have a practice in Eugene, Oregon, and we've known each other for some time now through the Invictus program, and so Colleen and Monica, very excited to have you both on the show today.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Well, Monica, would you start by telling us just a little bit about your firm, the firm that you have built and that Colleen has joined, that you're building together, and the great things you're implementing? Tell us a little bit about your background, please.
Well, Colleen and I both are CPAs that specialize in personal financial planning. There is a specialty within the CPA profession that does that, and so that's what we are. And so we have an expertise in both tax planning as well as financial planning, and that's what we love to integrate those two, and we feel like that's really our differentiator. And Colleen was an employee at first. Colleen, I think I hired you in 2014.
January 1st, yes.
Wow. Yeah, and then a few years later, she became a partner. So now we own the firm together, and that has just been great.
Well, Colleen, tell us a little bit about that. I think we all know advisors in the industry on both ends of the spectrum. Advisors who say, hey, someday I'll transition my practice and never do, or advisors who join practices thinking it will transition and never does. But the two of you have really successfully navigated that while making a lot of big practice evolutions.
I think it's really, being purposeful about who you go into a partnership with and having clear communication and expectations, and knowing also that life happens, and Monica and I have such a huge mutual respect for each other, and really I feel so blessed because Monica clearly wants what's best for me, and I want what's best for her. So that's really what makes it work. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
I like that. Monica, any thoughts? Because I've seen you and Colleen interact in person as we've done masterminds together. And there is, I think, Colleen, as you point out, this immense amount of mutual respect. There isn't sort of like, even though Monica, this is sort of, you built this from scratch, but it is a real peer. Like, hey, we're both on the same page. We're both delivering value to clients. We're both essential to the process.
Oh, yes. No question. We have a very similar desire to do what's best for the client first, but we also are differently gifted. So we both are very competent in the financial areas and tax areas. But as far as Colleen's an amazing kind of visionary, and she's an action-oriented person. So she just, when we talk about something, I'll have these big ideas, and I'll talk about it, and I'll get all excited about it, but actually implementing it never would happen if it were up to me alone, because I don't get in there and just do it. She, on the other hand, has that gift, and she's a very motivated self-starter. So the two of us together have accomplished so much more than either one of us would be able to do on our own. I'm very confident of that.
Yep.
Well, I love that. Are there thoughts that come to mind? So if you were advising another set of advisors that a multi-generational firm, are there lessons that you learned the easy way or the hard way? And Monica and Colleen will go from both of you, that you say, boy, I wish I would have known this, or this is something we learned maybe by accident, and I really hope that any other firm would also follow that pattern.
I think, again, it goes back to setting clear expectations and communication. And, Monica and I take a little bit of a different approach with clients than maybe the typical firm does. We really treat our clients as they're shared between the two of us because we think that's what's best for the client. It's not oh, this is Monica's client, and so I'm not involved. I don't know what's going on. It allows flexibility for the advisors as well, really. It's, Monica wants to be out of town. She knows that I know what's going on with so-and-so if they call. And that is provided really keeping us on the same page as business partners, but then also providing for our clients really great service levels. And so I think that's been a very successful way to approach transitioning clients, because clients are already familiar with me because I'm on all the emails. Sometimes I take their calls, and it makes it that we're just part of the team together.
Monica, was that a real intentional approach going in, kind of this transferring credibility to Colleen? Was it something you kind of stumbled across? Because like you said, Colleen's very gifted in her own right. Did she kind of just naturally assume that, or were you very intentional saying, hey, I've got to make sure that Colleen's kind of a mutual on all of these?
Well, I mean, when she first started when we first started working together, she was not licensed for financial services at the
That's
time.
right, yeah.
I hired her to handle my tax practice, and but I had hoped that she would want to also get licensed, and she did, and so that was great. And so once she was able to take on her own clients, we were very intentional about meeting with everybody together, even the ones that we knew were going to be her clients, because pretty much at that point we decided every new client would be hers. But we met with them together always, so that they saw us as a team. And then she started meeting with my clients that had already been established. And again, but I have to give some credit to you, Matthew, because, in talking through, like, for instance, during our surge meetings, we've, especially this upcoming round, we're making a very specific point that she and I will meet with everyone together, because really, all of my clients eventually will be her clients.
Sure.
We have a generation between us, and she's going to be around a lot longer than I am. So
you were talking about how this upcoming surge that you're meeting with all the clients together to make sure that that's already been established. Because hopefully, Monica, you'll be in the practice as long as you want to be in, but heaven forbid should something happen to any of us, right, Colleen, or yourself or me or anyone, that clients have that continuity in places. And I would love your thoughts, but especially for us as smaller independent practices, it's not as though they'll get absorbed into mega firm, right? I mean, they really need somebody to be there. Yes.
And so, like I say, you gave us the guidance to make sure and meet together. And also, this next round of surge meetings, Colleen is running every single one of those meetings. I'm going to be the attendee, and they're tax planning meetings. That's what we do in October. And thanks again from your guidance, and really good. But and so we both have expertise there, but she can. Absolutely, she's doing the planning for all the meetings. She's going to be the main presenter in all the meetings, and I will obviously attend. But that's to give her that kind of, credibility.
Yeah. Boy, that's really exciting. I'm really excited to hear the outcome. Now, surge meetings are relatively new for the two of you as well, right, Colleen? I mean, you've got a very strong tax practice, so I sort of that naturally creates a bit of a surge cycle just with the tax seasons. But this is something that the two of you have really gone deeper on.
Well, so, and just as a reminder, we kind of are a not typical CPA financial advising firm. We did have a tax practice, and we actually gave that up at the beginning of 2020. What a great year to have planned to do that. But the reason wasn't because we knew COVID was coming. It was because we were so busy on the financial planning side that we felt, in the best interest of our clients, that teaming up with CPA professionals in our community and bringing that collaborative approach was what was best. But in doing so, it freed up so much of our time to really implement the things like surge meetings for our clients. So we just started this in the fall of 2021. We heard, I think, a presentation from you and Micah, and thought, wow, what a great idea. I think it was Monica who came to me and said, I heard this thing and it sounds really great. And so we did a handful of tax planning meetings, probably like 2 weeks after that. I feel like, Monica, we were like, let's do tax planning.
And we did it for about maybe 20 clients.
Yeah, we just said, let's pick our top 20 and we'll do that. But then with the full intent of, let's do this for 2022. Let's really implement this. And it has been honestly fantastic. Our clients are better served. We feel that we are more purposeful and prepared for those meetings, and we're delivering greater value. Even though we were meeting with our clients and all the things that all advisors do, it felt really reactionary, and now we felt proactive, and that our clients came back from those meetings just feeling wowed. It was, the intentionality and the value adds and all the things.
You mentioned intentionality. I love the intentionality of your practice, right? Here you're both CPAs. You have a deep, deep tax background. You were already doing taxes in-house, which I think a lot of us as advisors who don't do taxes in-house, we think, wouldn't it be perfect if we did taxes in-house? But here you said, hey, listen, let's be really intentional. Our highest value is financial planning, not the tax prep. And you outsource that, again, despite being CPAs.
Mm-hmm. I was telling clients, you don't need me to physically type numbers into the return for you. What you want me to do, the reason you hired us as a firm, is to look at your taxes from a planning perspective. And by allowing somebody else to put the numbers in the boxes, it gives me the more time to actually do that analysis for you.
I love that.
Yeah, because we used to be really kind of owned by the tax work. And it really hampered our ability to do the right kind of financial analysis in a timely manner, because those deadlines were always looming. And so it just really, like you said, Matt, there is no, the highest value is for the planning aspect, financial and tax. We still do tax planning for all of our clients. Of course, but we just don't do the tax preparation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, was that a hard decision to reach? Or I could just, in my mind, I could feel like all this head trash. Like, how could we take away this service from clients? And didn't they hire us to do this tax prep? Was that hard to get to? Or Monica, was it pretty straightforward? You said, hey, listen, this is just what we have to do.
Well, we actually, we have been wanting to do it for a long time. I was going to do it before I hired Colleen. I used to be on my own and with an assistant, and so I was buried. And then I hired Colleen to alleviate that. But then, our practice grew because of that. And now we are both, a few years into it, we both are like, we tried a number of things. We tried some outsourcing. We thought that might work, and it did help. But, when you are responsible for the return and you're signing it, it just takes too much time. And there are other people that do it better than us, because that's their specialty.
And I think going back to the head trash, Matt, yes, I think both Monica and I felt a little bit like, how do we communicate this change to clients to really help them understand it's going to benefit them and be a positive thing, because it does feel like, hey, we have this service level and we're taking away something. So that really was a lot of conversation around that, of how to communicate that, what to really tell clients that actually you're gaining more because of how we're structuring this change.
Yeah, and actually, the actual last fall's meetings, the tax planning meetings, we had never done that before.
Really?
We never had time to do that before. And this year's upcoming round of those, again, now we have time to do it. And before, we were either too burnt out or simply didn't have the time. So we're doing more in the tax planning area, which is than we'd ever have, I think.
Well, that's a good point you bring up, Monica. Sometimes when we're thinking about doing surge meetings, right, for advisors that aren't doing them, we think, well, I'm doing less. But to your point, we actually end up doing so much more for clients because we're fresh, we're focused. I think, Colleen, you mentioned it earlier, we're systematized, we're making sure that all of the clients are getting the same thing. And feel free to jump in here. Not that it's cookie cutter, but we're making sure, hey, these 4 boxes are getting checked for everyone. And then, of course, we're going to go as deep as we need to on taxes. But I know that you ladies are strong in a lot of areas, not just taxes.
Right. And I think I agree. It's not cookie cutter. And I think it's understanding that a lot of advisors have this, I want this client experience, and clients want a client experience, but it's hard to deliver that unless you create the systems and the bandwidth to actually consistently do that. I'll take a really simple example. We, over the years, had sent agendas randomly, sometimes to meetings. And every time we did, we would say, that was really great. I'm glad I prepped an agenda. I should do that more. Did we do it more?
Yeah.
Not until
so classic.
sat down and said, what do we want? Again, not cookie cutter, but what are the systems and things we want in place so that clients get the best experience, and how can we consistently deliver those things?
Colleen, that's a really good example. It's funny as you mentioned this, like we find something that works so good, we only do it intermittently. And then I really reflect, I thought, boy, before I did Surge, some meetings I would be really prepared and some I wouldn't, and some I'd have an agenda and some I wouldn't. But when I'm in Surge, it sounds like for all of us, okay, here's our main 5 talking points or whatever they are, plus whatever the client needs. And then, wow, we're just so consistent, and the memos get done, the agendas get sent out, the confirmations go out, everything is going according to system.
Correct. Yep.
And the clients
go ahead,
love
please,
it.
Monica.
I was just going to say the clients, we got great feedback. Like this was, the best meeting. We didn't know what to expect, coming into this, and we were blown away, those kind of things. And action items came out of it, things that we, had been talking about maybe with the client, but not, it just wasn't, it wasn't followed through on, either on their end or our end. We had a better system for doing that. And so we actually got some things done. Some new business came in, some new assets came in. These are all things that just flowed naturally out of it without us, kind of trying to make it happen.
I love it. Would you mind telling us, I know you're getting ready to go into Surge cycle again, would you mind telling us just a little bit logistically how your Surge cycle works, how sort of long it runs? Are you both in all the appointments together? I know we talked about that just a minute ago, but how many appointments are you doing a day, a week? Advisors are always curious, right? Like, hey, we talk about Surge, but how does it really work in your office?
Okay. So I'll kind of refer a little bit back to the April Surge because that one's complete from start to finish, so probably can give a little more color around that one. What we did is we went through pulled our client list, and we kind of marked who were the people we wanted to meet with. We were looking to meet pretty much probably with everybody, but some people, the timing that we were doing, we knew wouldn't work, just either jobs or something. Sure. So we did that first, and then we had our assistant a month before start sending out our invite via email with our Calendly links in it. Perfect. And she would track those appointments in that spreadsheet and put them into our CRM, and she would follow up every week. So she would do 3 email follow-ups if the client hadn't booked. And the 4th week, if they hadn't booked, she would give them a phone call.
Perfect.
And so we ended up with about a 75% of our clients booked a meeting in April. So we ended up with typically around 3 to 4 meetings a day. We limited them to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. We used Monday as our prep for the week, touch base with the team day, make sure all our ducks are in a row, et cetera, follow up on action items from the previous week. Mm-hmm. And Friday was a little bit of a catch-up day as well.
Yeah.
So,
documentation, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Boy, that's great.
That's kind of how it went. Any other thoughts on that, Monica? Those are high levels.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We did 4 weeks. We have not a huge client base. We have bigger clients. So and so it worked out well. We didn't, at that time, we did joint meetings for some of them if we could. Basically, Colleen joined all of my meetings that she didn't have a conflict with.
Oh,
but we did have separate calendars. So, my clients got my Calendly link and her clients got hers. And so there were times where, they both, they conflicted. So this upcoming one, though, we've decided to do fewer. We're not doing all of our clients. We're doing the ones that really kind of would really benefit from tax planning and that are going to have some action items. And we're doing them. We did a joint calendar. So
very cool.
For that one, we are both going to be in every meeting. And like I said, Colleen's going to lead all of them. Again, we're getting ready. You can probably tell I'm much older than Colleen.
Barely.
And over the next couple of years, she's going to be getting probably 90% of my clients and becoming the lead advisor on 90% of them. And I'm going to hang on to a few, like maybe 10, and ride off into the sunset for about another 5 years probably, because I love what I do. And I feel like, having our fingers in it just a little bit keeps our credibility and our energy up and everything. And I have a lot to give. I just don't want so many people dependent on me. So.
Well, I love that. If I can, I'd love to draw Colleen, something you were talking about, how that your assistant would pull a list of all the clients. You would then highlight, here's who we need to meet with this surge cycle. And then it was 3 weeks of emails and a phone call, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I want to highlight that for our listeners. Sometimes advisors will say, hey, I sent one email to my clients and only half of them responded. But that's kind of normal. Like, we all get a lot of emails. So you were very intentional. Here are the clients I want to meet with, and we're not just going to kind of hope they schedule. We're going to follow up with them ultimately 4 times to make sure that we get that scheduled.
Correct. And I would say of the 25% or so who didn't fall into that month of April, most of them either communicated back saying, oh, thanks, actually I'm good. I don't feel like I need to meet, or, hey, can I meet the following month? So I would say we almost hit 100% between kind of in that zone with clients, feeling that they were interacted with and invited into a process.
Well, and I would love to do an entire episode, Monica, on something you said, that the two of you work with larger and more complex clients. So sometimes there's this idea that, well, my clients are too complex to do surge, but the concept is still the same, right? It still works. It almost works better with complex clients.
I would agree. And Monica, feel free to jump in on this. For our first surge, we really kept it simple, if you want to call it that. And granted, this year has been anything but simple in the investment world, so it really was good timing. But we had an agenda that was a template, and it was account review. We did beneficiary reports, and we reviewed those. And then
that was our second quarter value add, was the beneficiary report.
Then we touched based on our first quarter value add, which was our 1099 letter. So it wasn't that we were trying to create anything super flashy or anything like that. Obviously, some of our clients have a little bit more going on than just account review and beneficiary, but you don't have to overcomplicate it.
I love it.
Yeah, and we this again was one of your suggestions, Matthew. We in sending out those emails, the week before the surge meeting, our assistant would send out the agenda. So that Colleen talked about how that was a good practice, but we hadn't been consistent on it. So this way, our assistant was always talking to us, and that was one of the things we would do on Fridays, for instance, make sure we have the agendas not for the next week's meetings, but for the week forward of that, because she was going to be sending out the agendas towards the beginning of that next week for the following meetings, reminding them, say, hey, here's a reminder, here's your Zoom link, and here's the agenda. Please take a look, and if there's anything that you would like to discuss that isn't on there, please let us know right away so that we can add it to the agenda and make sure that Monica or Colleen is prepared to answer those questions for you.
Boy, I love it.
So that was great, and sometimes they did add a thing or two, and so that was great.
That makes all the difference. Well, I've been taking notes here on my little notepad here of action items I want to implement, but I'm curious if there's any action items that stand out for you, for our listeners. If there's just one thing you took away from this or one piece of action you did, giving it to our listeners, what would you offer them?
In regards to surge meetings specifically?
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about surge, but just if you thought, if I could tell every advisor to do one thing based on my experience, like what would that be?
Ooh, that idea you have, don't overcomplicate it. Just think, what is the first little baby step I can do in that direction? And set yourself a time limit even. It's like, I'm going to spend 30 minutes working on that, and I will have made progress.
Boy, Monica, you weren't kidding. Colleen is an implementer. Just like right there, like what's the one, I love that. What's the one step I could take? Sometimes we get caught on this really big, like there's 100 steps and I'll wait until I have all 100 figured out and then nothing happens.
Too, so.
Yeah. And I would say too, if the idea of surge meetings seems overwhelming to you, like what we did, and again, I'd say it was I'm the one that ran across your podcast,
Sure.
and I said I want to do this, and we were already planning some tax planning meetings with certain clients that needed a Roth conversion or something, and so we said let's do this with this, but let's look at it and who else should get this meeting. And like I said, we ended up with like 20 people. Wow. And we didn't have much time to put it together.
Yeah.
This was early November. And so, just start with a subset if you feel like it's too much to take on everybody.
Love it. Well, Colleen and Monica, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for kind of opening your practice up for all of us to take a look at. Congratulations on all of your success. I mean, sometimes when you're in the trenches, it feels like we're just plugging away, but you both have built an amazing practice, and you've done things that a lot of people only dream of doing. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, thanks, Matt.
Oh, thanks for
Pleasure
inviting
to
us.
chat with you always.
Oh, thank you so
super
much.
fun.
Thank you. And for all of our listeners, until next time, happy planning.
We have a disclosure for today's episode. Securities offered through Advantax Investment Services SM, member FINRA SIPC, investment advisory services offered through Advantax Advisory Services SM, insurance services offered through an Advantax affiliated insurance agency.